I have a question for you. How many of you went to the concert at the school last week? Good representation. Good representation. All right, put your hands down. We kind of like to hear what you thought of it. The head guy called me yesterday, wanted to know my impressions and what I thought and everything. So you tell me. What did you raise your hand? Tell me what you thought of it. Nobody. Crickets. Abby. Okay, Avery. Was it a blast? Yeah. You know what? You're gonna make great old people. They're gonna be the ones with the earplugs in. It's rock. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Travis. Yeah. For some reason, the noise was bothering me. Okay. Anybody else? Lexi. Good music. Did you like the band? Yeah. Did you like the opening band? Well, they did call me. This is serious. Eric called me, the guy that played bass. He was kind of the head guy. And he said, you know, your band, would they ever be willing to, like, if we called them to play at an event, would they be willing? I'm like, no. Yeah. So they thought they were pretty good. So that was a neat opportunity for us to partner with them. So it was fun to have that opportunity. Thanks for representing and being there. So good deal. Are we going to do door prizes? Where's Nicole? No, you were giving away the gifts. Get up here. Peyton is not going to do it all. No. Don't ask her. The drama we can't handle, okay? She'll be fine.
Be nice. There's your bad foot effect, Reed.
It's taking forever.
7, 2, 6, 5, 3, 0. 7, 2, 6, 5, 3, 5.
June 29th to July 4th. If you're interested in going, you need to talk to me and get an application to fill out. And I will give you more details. Next, Halloween party is not Halloween night, it's the 30th.
Sorry.
I'm telling you, okay. Anyway, a week from next Wednesday is our Halloween party. Come in costume. And then, that's it. Okay, and next week you have small group night, so make sure you know what's happening, because otherwise you're just going to be sitting, not knowing what's happened, okay? Worship team, come on up, we're going to get started. I need the lights out. Father. And God is our Father. Some of you have absent fathers like Pastor did. Some of you have fathers that are present. But God is the good, good Father. So let's sing this song.
Stories of what they think you're
perceptions of Father is not good, and yet you are good, and your love is undeniable, and you're everything we need. In your name I pray. Amen. Go ahead and have a seat. I'm sitting in class, the first day of school, and the teacher says she wants us to introduce ourselves. Every other girl has just this really pretty name, just flows off the tongue, and then it's my turn. Connie. I feel like it just lands there with a thud. I've always hated my name because it's not pretty, it's just Connie. So now I've had many, many nicknames in my life. Some of you have given me nicknames too. One was Bones. Another was the Blue Arm. Duck. Conrad. Con. Bug. Miss Connie. And Grandma with the long hair. I don't have long hair, but it's longer than the other grandma. So all of my nicknames mean something to me. They remind me of a time or a place or a person. Bones was what my dad called me because I was so skinny. So he called me Bones. I did not appreciate that nickname. He said, if you turn sideways, stick out your tongue, you look like a zipper. I got all of those. Blue Arm was because I was so quick to grab the food from the table and I ate everything in sight. So they called me the Blue Arm. So I was quite the eater. Duck, I went in junior high. I went to public school, and I had to go to I couldn't open enroll. And we were living in Indiana at the time, and there was a lot of racial tension. In the area where we were living, I would have to go to the school that was like 75% African American. And at the time, there was a lot of racial fighting in our town, between the blacks and the whites. And so I'm in 8th grade, and I have to go there. And I'm very scared. My parents are very scared. They tried to get me in a different school. So I go to that school. Well, who takes me under their wing is this whole group of black kids, African Americans, and they protected me. They walked me home every day, but they also called me Duck because they said I walk like a duck. So that name, I don't like the name Duck, but it is special to me in a way. Conrad came out of our first youth pastor, one of the guys we worked with, still best friends to this day, called me Conrad because he thought I was kind of like a Hitler, I guess, but now it's an endearing term. I've also been called Hitler. Bug is from pastor. I was early married. I had big glasses and I had my hair pulled back, and he said, "You look like a mosquito." So, a bug. So he still calls me Bug. If you hear him, he'll call me Bug once in a while. So that's where that comes from. Miss Connie is a name I really treasure. It's because when we tutored, when I would work in North Omaha at Compass Ministries, and it was inner city, and I always got the worst kids. They always gave me the worst kids because they thought I could handle them. It was just that I was as naughty as they were. But anyway, I always got the worst kids, and so they all called me Miss Connie, and I miss doing that a lot. And then Grandma with the long hair is for my grandkids because the other grandma has very thin, she's losing her hair because she just has thin hair, and so I have the long hair. So I'm really proud of my long hair, okay? But all my nicknames mean something to me. We've been talking about Isaiah 43:1 for the last few weeks here, and we talked about it at the challenge. We talked about shoes, and I talked about different shoe companies that had started and how the person created the shoe. They formed it for a specific purpose. We talked about risk, how fear stops us from risking, but risk overcomes fear. And then, and when we know our Creator, the one who formed us, we can take the risk because we can trust Him. Then we talked about ransom. This God who created and formed us tells us not to fear because He has ransomed us. So when God says you are created and formed by Him, you need not fear. You're loved and adopted into the family. When I told you about my brother who was adopted and how we chose him and we adopted him and he's part of our family and we gave him a name. And that's what God does for us when we come into His family. We're ransomed. So, but I thought tonight you need to stop. And we've been talking about all of that. But that one word, I. Who's I? It's God. But who is God? If we're saying He's the one who created, formed, ransomed, we don't need to fear. Who is He? Some of you have a vague idea. Some of you have a better idea. But who is he? So I thought tonight we're just going to stop. And we're going to talk about I. God is personal. He sees you. I tell you this almost every week. He sees you, just you. God provides. I know that to be true. We were married. I've told this story sometime, but it still impacts me. We were living in, Pastor was working for a college. We were very poor. Didn't have a lot of money. He needed to wear suits. And he told me, I got to have a suit. We didn't have the money. And so I was reading in my Bible, and it says it's a God who takes care of the lilies of the fields and the sparrows and all of that. How much more does he care about you? He said, and I literally said that morning. I said, okay, God, if you care for them, then you better provide a suit. He comes home that night, and he's got a big trash bag. I said, what's in that? Suits. I went, what? Wait, what? And he said they were, a guy dropped off a bunch of suits outside the bookstore door at the college. And somebody told me about it, and they said, go see if they fit you. Fit him perfect. And they were nice suits. I'm like, okay, that kind of rocked my world. I just put God to the test. And this is weird. It was so weird because he didn't know I prayed that. And I'm like, so God provides. He provided friends for me when I had to go to that junior high. I didn't know anybody. And guys, I was the skinny white girl. And I was extremely shy, not athletic at all. I had no skill. You know, I couldn't come in as the athlete. I couldn't come in as the singer, the artist. I'm just awkward, kind of thud. And God provided this great group of friends that took care of me. God provides. What do you need God to do for you? What do you need him to do for you? Are you willing to ask him? I mean, wasn't that kind of a big prayer? And I said, okay, God, you close the field, now provide a suit. Do you think that was a big prayer? Yeah, and God did. God sees beauty. When our middle daughter, Reese, and if you were at the challenge, you kind of heard her story. She was abused, and we found out about it. I was so broken. Our family was so broken. I prayed, I remember praying and saying, God, literally, I remember sitting on my bed in my room, and I was just crying because it was so dreadful. And I said, God, I've given you my life. I've served you. I've followed you to Riddle, Iowa, followed you to Virginia, and you let this happen? Seriously? And I was so upset. And then God began to take us on a journey. A year later, we're sitting as a family on our porch. If you've been on our porch, it's rather lovely, we think. Has a swing and some chairs. A lot of you have been on my porch. We're sitting there as a family. And the girls are 20, 19, and 18. And we're looking back on the last year. It's been now a year. And one of them said, you know, I don't like what happened. And what happened should have never happened. And we all agreed. And then we said, but we like our family a lot better now. Because God was able to take all that brokenness, because we gave it to him, and he did something better. Should that have happened? No. Do we wish it had never happened? Yes. Are the scars still there? Yes. But when you give your brokenness, God sees beauty. He doesn't see worthlessness. If you've made some mistakes that you're ashamed of, and you think God just looks at you and goes, oh, you stupid. Why did you do that? God says, I see beauty there. Come on. Look at the beauty. God hears. When I pray, I know he hears me. Now I'm praying. I've made a commitment to pray every day, and my dog is Satan, okay? Actually, it's Quincy, but it's Satan. Because I pray before I get out of bed, because once I get out of bed, it ain't gonna happen. Well, sometimes Quincy thinks I need to get out sooner, and he's very insistent, and I'm like, go away, Satan. So he's not really Satan, but I pray, and I made a commitment to pray. Now, there are things I'm praying for some of you, for my family, and I'm not really seeing answers. But you know what God gives me, how I know He hears? He gives me a peace. In the midst of, I'm pretty angry about some stuff. I don't like what's going on. But when I pray, I have a sense. I know I have a peace. It's like giving it. When you have something that you're really upset about and you just need to talk to someone, and you have that trusted friend, how do you feel after you share it? It's a relief, isn't it? To share your burden with someone. That's what God does for me. I know He hears. And God prepares. We were living in St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin. Beautiful place. Beautiful. And God, we've been there 6 years. I loved it. Our kids loved it. It's where they grew up. And then God said, you're going to move. He didn't literally say that. Kind of led us. And we ended up in Virginia. Long ways from Wisconsin. In more ways than once. The first thing we went to as a family to a home, all crystal china, and you had your own individual salt and sugar bowl. And I'm like, this is not the Midwest. I like the Midwest. I like it here where we wear jeans and everything. So I was really out of my element. But God took us to Virginia, and it was horrible. And that's where what happened to Reese happened, was in Virginia. Virginia is a dark period. But you know what? I'm thankful for Virginia, because it prepared me to come to Red Oak, Iowa, where we've been able to be for 24 years. And never thought I would come to Red Oak, Iowa from Virginia. And when they said, when Pastor was on the phone, he says, Red Oak, Iowa, I whipped out my atlas, because I had it right there. And I went, because I'm a Minnesota girl, I'm not moving to Iowa, because they make fun of us. Now I am in Iowa, and see. But God moved us here, and I'm so thankful. But He had to take us on a journey. And so God knows where we're going, and He prepares us. So I want you to think about, now, who is God to you? And I've asked the leaders, and Jason, I have several up here. Ethan, I have yours. Okay, Stephen's is big one. Mel, I have yours. And Stephen. Mel and Stephen? Just look at them. Okay. Mel, honey, the name is on it. Okay, sorry. I contacted several students and my leaders and asked them, who is God to you? Describe Him. So they're just going to stand up and tell you who God is to them. And I want you to hear if any of those words resonate with you. So go. I didn't put them in any order, so we'll see how they do.
God is my provider. God is my provider. He has called me by name, and I am His.
Stay standing. Next. Just keep going.
God is my shield. God is my shield. He has called me by name. I am His.
God is my trusted counselor. God is my trusted counselor. He has called me by name, and I am His.
God is my guide. God is my guide. He has called me by name, and I am His.
God is my truth. God is my truth. He has called me by name, and I am His.
God is my stability. God is my stability. He has called me by name, and I am His.
God is my comfort. God is my comfort. He has called me by name, and I am His.
God is my anchor. God is my anchor. He has called me by name, and I am His.
God is my protection. God is my protection. He has called me by name, and I am His.
God is my truth. God is my truth. He has called me by name, and I am His.
God is my rock. God is my rock, and He has called me by name, and I am His. In the midst of a lot of terrible situations and struggles in the last 2 or 3 years, God has always been there for me, and I always go back to Him. And it's not that it's going to get better, it's just that I know that I can trust Him fully, and I know that He's got control of everything.
God is my quiet place. He has called me by name, and I am His. God is my sustainer. God is my sustainer. He has called me by name, and I am His.
God is my teacher. Unless you want to go.
No, go.
God is my teacher.
was 20 before I ever met an adult man that acted like a father in my life. So I grew up never having a father or someone like a father to me. God is my father. He is my father. He has called me by name, and I am his.
God is my Redeemer. God is my Redeemer. He has called me by name, and I am his.
God is my strength. God is my strength. He has called me by name, and I am his.
God is my banner. God is my banner. He has called me by name, and I am his.
Security. God is my security. He has called me by name, and I am his.
God is my peace. God is my peace. He has called me by name, and I am his.
Is that everyone? All right. I want you to just notice these names. I asked them, who is God to you right now? At times, those different parts of God change. At times, right now, I need God to be my peace. But I told you, He's been my provider. He's been my listener. Who's God to you now? You're going to go back into your small groups, to take your chairs, and get in your small groups.
Before he created the heavens and the earth, he was. When the earth and everything in it passes away, he will be. He holds the universe together from the smallest atom to the greatest galaxy. It all is in his hands. He has set the earth on its foundations. He stirs the waters of the oceans with his fingers, and he shapes the mountains with his breath. He is entirely holy and completely other. There are none before him and none like him. Who can question what he has done or what he will do? His kingdom is eternal and shall exist forevermore. He is the Prince of Peace. He is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. He is Jehovah Jireh. I will provide. He is Jehovah Rapha. I will heal. He is Jehovah Roy. I am your shepherd. The eternal and everlasting God. He is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. He, even he, is the Lord. And besides him, there's no Savior. Angels and heavenly beings worship him upon his throne. He is a jealous God and a consuming fire. He is safety for the tested and tried. He has come to set the captives free, to strengthen the weak, to heal the lame, to cause the blind to see. He is your shield and your strength and your defender. He is your harbor in the tempest. He has come to give you life, and that you might know him. He has come that you might know him and his limitless love and unending grace. His forgiveness knows no boundaries, and his acceptance sees no imperfections, no color, no race, no wealth, no poverty. In him you are made clean. He is indescribable, incomprehensible, irresistible, and invincible. The heavens cannot contain his glory. Death cannot consume him. Life cannot outlast him. All knees will bow before him, and at his name every tongue will confess. Every tongue will confess that he is the great I am.
We're going to sing the great I am, but while that, there's chalk back on the chair there. If you just want to write who God is to you right now, just feel free to go over there. If you have a prayer request, something you want to say to God, or hang on there that you want us to pray about, do that with the cross. And that's, we're going to sing the great I am now.
Death is alive. I wanna hear
mind. Who is he to you? And has he called you? And have you responded? God, thank you that you're the great I am. That demons run and flee. That there is no fear when we walk with you, because you risk overcomes fear. When we risk to come to you, when we risk to walk with you, the reward is so much greater than the fear. Thank you for who you are. In your name I pray. Amen.